Last time on Dragon Ball New Age. With the defeat, the survival of Rigor, the only thing left for our heroes to do was to pick up the pieces and wish Goten and Uub back to life. However, Old Kai would interject to forbid them from using the Black Dragon Balls ever again. Not because their repeated use would cause terrible misfortunes similar to the Shadow Dragons, but their very use at all. Expanding upon the previous conversation, Elder Kaio explains that instead of dispelling negative energy like the regular Dragon Balls, the Black Dragon Balls act in reverse. They feed on and absorb living positive energy from their surroundings. And the differences don't stop there. While they carry the capacity for benevolence, doing good will tax their powers as their very nature is inherently evil. When they grant an evil or selfish wish, the power required is much less. But granting a good or selfless wish will cause them to devour far more energy in turn. In other words, this inevitably means the more good one uses them for, the more damage they will eventually cause. King Piccolo's hastiness has caused unforeseen issues. Whether it be their mixture, hasty creation, or his evil nature in general, the Black Dragon Balls are not tied to his existence. They are instead fueled by life itself. In a place with so little life, it's no wonder they were dormant for so long. Hinting they only became activated when Trunks and Pan approached him. Wanting to make sure he understands, Gohan asks if this means these Dragon Balls don't disappear when their creator dies, and as long as they have an energy source to feed on, they'll never go away. Which is the case. Old Kai calls them quite superior to the original Dragon Balls in that manner, a blessing and a curse. It also explains their abnormal wish-granting ability. Under normal circumstances, Dragon Balls can only grant wishes within the power of their creator. But fueled by Earth's near-limitless energy, the dragon within has the ability to grant wishes far beyond its capacity. Bulma interrupts to bring up he mentioned the Black Dragon Balls cause damage when they're used, but they've yet to notice anything amiss. Who in turn directs her to ask her son, as surely he thought it odd to find them in an area devoid of life, dead trees and no animals to speak of, and that was merely with a few simple wishes. Just imagine a couple others that would push the ability of the dragon's power. All life on the earth could be drained without warning, inquiring if they can still call themselves heroes if they wind up killing their own planet. The scientist herself admits she never thought such consequences could exist. Though Trunks remains confident, given the circumstances, surely Mori over on Namek would let them, but is met with an assertive response. The old-timer barks if he's really that dense, and if he's already forgotten he's previously forbid them from using their own Dragon Balls, given the disaster they let loose on their own planet. All this would serve to do is unleash 7 even more powerful Shadow Dragons on Namek. The deity catches his breath to control himself. With an apology, he informs he and Mori have already met and discussed this, coming to the agreement that the Dragon Balls will no longer be used as an all-purpose reset button. At some point, even for the Earthlings, death is going to have to mean death. When Kibito Kai comes to our hero's defense to urge that surely, given all they've done to help in the past, they can grant them some leeway just this once. Mulling it over, Old Kai reluctantly has to agree. But the risk of new Shadow Dragons is too great, and at least if they can make only a single wish, they can minimize the nasty side effects of the Black Dragon Balls. They should be able to use them in a little over a month to revive those who are killed. But only this one time. After this, death will be for keeps. Thinking, 1 month? Goku wonders what they can do about Goten and Uub until then. When a new voice bounces through the air, cheering the Saiyan leave that to him. Accommodations have already been made and the boys are in good hands. And with that unforgivable timbre, Goku instantly recognizes it's King Kai, who goes on to tell King Yama pulled some strings for him and sent the boys, bodies and all, to the upper world, though playfully warns his former student to watch out. With as long as a month to train him, he might just make them even stronger than Goku himself. Ecstatic to hear the gears moving on the other side, the warrior himself laughs he wouldn't mind that one bit, pressing him to not take it easy on him and make him train hard. Meanwhile, on the lookout, whether listening in or explained to him later, Popo questions if Piccolo can remember any of this regarding the Black Dragon Balls and his former self. And now that it's brought up, he does have a vague recollection. It happened so long ago he had almost forgotten. It all began shortly before his dark half was imprisoned centuries ago. He was compelled to forge them by a deep-seated desire. He didn't really even know why, only that doing so satiated the need itself. Even so, his impatience took hold and he rushed their completion. In only 80 days, he finished them and almost immediately, they turned to stone. He had no idea why the onyx pearls he had forged had become mere rocks. believing them to be a failure. He sealed the balls within the forge and forgot all about them, similar to the version of himself he is now. Never once did either think of the power he had created that day. Almost in a state of stunned silence, Popo only mutters, "Indeed, most dreadful." Though Piccolo admits if there's one thing this experience has taught him, it's that he can't sit idly by as the others become stronger and he himself does not. 2 weeks go by. Back in Otherworld, King Kai compliments the boys on their progress. He asks Uub to sit out as he's prepared a special training partner for Goten, piquing the curiosity of Goku's youngest son, as a familiar voice calmly utters, "Hey guys," from behind. Krillin! Although he died from natural causes, because of all he sacrificed for planet Earth, he was allowed to keep his body, and as a special bonus, the gods even returned him to the prime of his youth. King Kai warns, for this fight, no going Super Saiyan. The training will be better that way. As the pair get to it, Uub notices Krillin is much stronger than he ever was on Earth, asking what kind of training he's been doing here. Without replying, the Kai takes pride in Uub noticing the progress Krillin has made, as he has indeed far surpassed his limits since coming here, even daring to say, at this level of training, Krillin is his greatest pupil ever. After Son Goku, of course. The fighters tap the ground for a break in the action. Krillin chuckles how tough Goten is and that he hasn't had to work this hard in a while. Just to keep up, he's had to use a ×10 Kaioken. And while that may be the case, he still isn't huffing and puffing as much as his opponent. Announcing their little break is over, the turtle student's ready for round 2. Prompting Goten to question if he's really been using Kaioken this whole time. How isn't he out of breath? A bit taken aback, he acknowledges it is strenuous, but tenfold isn't exactly his limit. Actually, now that he thinks about it, if he went all out, he could probably take Goten on even if he were to go Super Saiyan, much to the shock of Goten. But King Kai only lets out a subtle, cheeky laugh. Though Uub argues that's impossible, a Kaioken at that degree would be lethal. And he's right, a Kaioken amplified to such an extent, even at Uub's level, would be fatal. But he wasn't talking about using the Kaioken. The most important thing Master Roshi ever instilled in he and Goku in their training was building on the basics and fundamentals. Technically, he never even taught him a single technique directly. Instead, they used his principles and devised their own. He's done the same here with Kaio-sama's teachings, taking the Fist of the World style and building on it. That's how he came up with the Spirit's Fist, also known as the Sea Shinken. Repeating this name back. Krillin's power explodes! Uub even compares it to the power-up becoming a Super Saiyan would give. Explaining, unlike the Kaioken, which uses all the dough, or red energy and amplifies it, Sea Shinken works by drawing upon one's Sea, or blue life energy, giving the user a massive increase in power. King Kai chuckles that when the laws of mortality don't abide, your limits are merely a paper ceiling. Powering back down, Krillin admits he's right. There's no way he could have ever achieved such things if he were still alive. Continuing, the Kai points out if Krillin, who once couldn't hold a candle to Super Saiyan, can now generate power similar to one. Imagine the heights Goten and Uub can reach. But the time before their return to Earth is short, so there will be no slacking. They must learn in a few weeks what it took Son Goku months to learn. In every way, they will have to be better than they have ever been. Mentally, physically, they will be pushed to their limits and beyond again and again. Better than their very best. Better than… Having lost where he is going with his little pep talk, the deity suggests they just continue with their training. Planet Shazu, somewhere in the southern galaxy. A peaceful place with a people who coexist with their planet. There are no wars, no strife. They have lived in peace for centuries, paying no mind to the rest of the universe. A place where nothing bad could ever happen. But even somewhere such as this, evil eventually finds its way in. As a hole of darkness opens up out of nowhere, the worst kind of malevolence sets foot on this land of tranquility. Like a fox entering a chicken coop, they have no hope of staving off what comes next. For a demon, drawn by a ravenous hunger, is soon to walk among them. But where could this villain have come from, and what could he possibly want? Does he have anything to do with the negative effects of the Black Dragon Balls? And why does Planet Shazu look so familiar?